Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Franchising Matters video series brought to you by Reshift Media. My name's Steve Bures, and I'll be your host for today. I'm joined today by Jen McDonald, who's the Vice President of Content and Social Media for Reshift Media. And our topic today is to talk about what we're seeing on Facebook. Specifically, meta advertising is suddenly underperforming, and it's a hot topic online. So we wanted to bring Jen on and have a quick conversation today about what we at Reshift are seeing and what you as a meta advertiser may want to be thinking about. So welcome to the show, Jen.
Hi, thank you.
So let's jump right into it. So would you mind giving just a quick overview of what we're hearing online and kind of what we're seeing in terms of meta advertising issues?
Yeah, so things have gotten pretty wild in Meta recently. So we saw two really interesting kind of moments in time. The first was February 14th. We saw a lot of chatter online about, people in like forums and on Twitter and on Reddit, people talking about their Facebook performance on Facebook and Instagram, really, really going down. Like performance has really declined. We at Reshift didn't actually experience that, but then last week on March 5th, I'm sure you all remember Facebook and Instagram was down for like 2 hours in the morning. And after that, there was another really big decline in performance on ads. And we did actually see some of that with some of our clients. So it seems like those were the real inflex points where things really started to go very strange after those two times.
And so when we say performance, we're talking about cost per lead, cost per
Customer
acquisition,
acquisition, ROAS, yeah,
driving
exactly.
sales.
So I have seen some chatter that it's affecting all types of campaigns, like reach, awareness, traffic, everything. But the things that I'm really reading about and the things that we've seen is as conversion campaigns. So either lead campaigns or e-com campaigns, where you're really looking at cost per purchases and cost per acquisitions.
So the key here is the ads are running in
Yep.
theory.
They're running everything,
Yeah.
and interestingly, like the reach hasn't really been affected. You're still reaching the same amount of people. Click-through rates doesn't really seem to be as effective. It is you are not able to get the conversions at the cost that you're used to getting. So your sales or your leads have gone very down, and your costs have gone way up.
Right. So what we're seeing then, and looking at our own clients, obviously we have quite
Yeah.
a number of clients that we're running here at Reshift on Meta. So we're seeing that the overall reach seems about the same. CPM seems very similar. The ads are still getting clicks, but it's literally, if it's a lead generation or a sales generation campaign, we're seeing that the ROI essentially is suddenly not what it should be.
That's right. Yeah. So a lot of times we're seeing like leads with a lot of, possibly a lot of bot responses, or if it's a purchased e-commerce campaign, we're just not seeing the level of purchases that we had seen, a week ago.
And so, to kind of give a bit of a gauge for people, so we've obviously gone through all of our client campaigns.
Yeah.
What would you say in terms of percentage of campaigns that are having an issue?
I mean, luckily, knock on wood, I'd say the majority of our clients are actually doing great, and we haven't seen any performance declines. I'd say probably 85% of our clients are doing well, but we have seen specifically, a few, especially the conversion campaign clients, and interestingly, the clients that are spending the most amount on a daily budget.
So, the more they're spending, it
The
feels
more
like.
they're spending, the more it's impacted. It does seem like for us, that's what we're seeing. Like, I'm not sure if that's what's happening across all of Meta, but we are seeing that, the people who are spending like $100,000 a month in one case saw quite a big impact.
Yeah, and it seems to be disproportionately impacting certain placements, right? So,
That's
what
right.
what was it you were finding? It was the iOS
Yeah.
newsfeed.
So one of our campaigns that was really affected. We're really seeing a lot of disruption between March 8th and March 11th, where our cost per acquisition went way up. It was like typically like a $25 cost per acquisition went to $50. And when we really dug in and we were looking at where we were getting these really expensive costs, we were seeing it was Facebook feed on iPhone mobile app. Most of our audience is on mobile. iPhone with this particular client tends to actually outperform Android. And Facebook feed is historically our best performing placement. So all of a sudden, our best performing placement became our worst performing placement overnight.
Not great.
Not great. We have, thankfully, for that particular client, it lasted about 3 days, and we have started to see a really nice bounce back. We are still seeing Facebook feed on iPhone is a little bit more expensive than we're used to, but we are starting to see some stabilization. But it really does tell you really have to dig really deep into the data. And really kind of take a look at where, if there's certain placements or if there's, certain ads or whatever it is, just kind of look at what's happening and then adjust accordingly.
Well, and as I recall, the real area where we were seeing trouble is kind of the 8th to 11th of March, right?
Yeah, that's right. We did start seeing, right after that outage on March 5th, we started seeing, a little bit of low performance 6th, 7th, but it was really the 8th where things really started to, nosedive for, again, only a couple of our clients, but enough that, we're very concerned about it. And again, it really teaches you that you have to be in your ad accounts every day and looking at things every day. And really doing day by day looks, right? Like when you go into your ad account, the default is usually like look at everything for 1 month. And if we looked at the whole of March, we probably wouldn't have caught it, right? We had to be looking at like what is the actual performance today versus yesterday.
Okay. And since what was it, the 12th, 13th, 14th, we're seeing it kind of stabilize, you're saying, right?
We are, yes. Now, I am, as I'm sure most social media marketers are, very active on Twitter and Reddit and lots of Facebook groups with other social media marketers. Unfortunately, it's not being super stabilized across a lot of other people. So, we're just keeping an eye on it. Thankfully, we have seen some stabilization. We're not seeing the same. So it depends on the client, I think.
Yeah. Well, and I think what you said is exactly right. You need to be on top of it, and it doesn't seem to be consistent. And for the record, Meta hasn't made an announcement about any of this.
There's no official statement. We've put in support requests. They're not really saying anything. If you have a rep, we definitely recommend that you reach out to your rep and make sure that they're aware of what you're seeing. But we don't have a lot of guidance from Meta itself right now.
Yeah. So thus far, they're not saying there's an issue. They're treating it kind of as business as usual. But the online community certainly is identifying something. So, and we are seeing firsthand at Reshift that there are some isolated incidents. So clearly, there's something to it. There has to be.
Absolutely.
So if you're an advertiser who's having this issue, what are the steps you think they should take, Jen?
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure there's a huge online community that's talking about this, and everyone is trading advice and tips and what's worked for them. So try to be part of that. There's a Reddit group, a subreddit called Facebook Ads that I check every day because there's now a daily thread where it's pinned where they're talking about this every day. I follow a lot of DTC Twitter, podcasts, social forums, Facebook groups. So it's out there. There's a lot of advice. Again, if you have a rep, talk to your rep. And just know that, don't panic. It's not just you. It's happening to a lot of people. It's not user error. It's not creative fatigue. There is clearly something that's happening. So I think that's a good start. And then I think dig into your data. So again, you really want to be looking at your day-to-day data. Facebook does allow you to do comparisons. So you can compare last week over the week before, and you can customize your columns. So it'll actually give you a percentage breakdown of like green percentage up or red percentage down. So you can actually see how you're performing at a very, very quick snapshot. And again, not just by day, but like I said, by placement, by ad, see if there's a particular ad that you should be turning off, see if there's a particular placement that is really costing you much more than it cost you like last month, and really try to zero in on what the problem areas are, and then hopefully with that you'll be able to do some optimization.
And in some cases, some advertisers have had success rebuilding the campaigns from scratch as a kind of worst case scenario, right?
Yeah, we did that with one of our clients. It seems to be working well. There's a lot of different things that people are trying. I've certainly seen some people say, try to turn off the Advantage Plus So Advantage Plus is Meta's new thing. They call everything Advantage Plus now, but it's really using a lot of AI. So there's something called Advantage Plus audiences. So instead of you telling Meta what audiences that you want to target, they basically take your signals, but then they decide. And it tends to be very, very broad. There's also Advantage Plus creatives, where they take your creatives and they kind of dynamically change them based on what they think your audience wants to see. A lot of people are having success turning that off and going back to more of an old school, like we control the placements, we control the targeting, we control the creative. That being said, I've certainly seen a couple of people who have put everything, all their budgets towards the Advantage Plus shopping campaigns, where they're doing everything towards that, and that's working better for them. So there's not really a blanket answer, and we're all kind of trying because Meta isn't telling anything. So it's really just experimenting on what's working for you.
Okay. And the rebuilding is starting literally from scratch, right? Not duplicating the campaign.
Not duplicating a campaign, but I would suggest using post IDs. So when you're creating your ads, you can either create a brand new ad or you can use an existing ad and grab the existing ad ID. We tend to like using post IDs, because the ad that you were previously running, especially if you were running it, some ads we've been running for months because they've always been winners, right? So with small iterations. So if the ad has been running for quite a while, it has a lot of social proof. It has history. It has Facebook saying, "Oh, I know this ad works, so I'm going to keep putting money towards it." So that we tend to not at the ad level want to start completely from scratch. So using post IDs is something that we recommend and something that we're doing. But in terms of the ad set and the campaign levels, we're starting those from scratch.
Interesting. And we were digging into one of our clients just yesterday, actually, where Facebook was reporting that their number of leads, this was a lead generation campaign, looking through Meta's dashboard, it was reporting that the leads were drastically down from what we see normally. And interestingly, when we dug into it, we started to look at the actual form completions in the back end of the website. And the form completions were actually higher than the conversions that Meta was tracking through their systems. Which is a little different than usual because typically Meta tends to over-track, if anything. It's not often they're under-tracking. And so this also might indicate Meta might be having a bit of a problem with attribution.
Yeah.
So it could be a combination of clearly ad performance is an issue, but even perhaps Meta's ability to attribute conversions using their pixel or even offline conversions, that could potentially be a piece of the puzzle too, I would think.
Absolutely, yeah. So you should always be checking trying to verify your data with other sources. So that's exactly what's happening right now. It's not great for us because Facebook is not tracking the conversion, even though the conversion is happening. So that's really affecting our optimization. But at least we know conversions are still happening, right? So at least we can start looking at the attribution at the pixel and kind of narrow it down from there. But yeah, you should always be checking Meta's math to begin with. But this is increasingly important right now. All right. I think the only other thing that I'd mention that some people are using is bid caps. So if you're worried about how much you're spending when performance is bad on Meta, then bid caps is another way to go. So especially if you're doing a conversion campaign. So it basically allows you to set the maximum amount that you want to spend on a conversion. So that is something that if your conversions costs are very, very high, and you don't want to spend too much money trying to chase conversions that you're not getting, that's something you can do. Slightly different is cost caps. So cost caps, I think it's not called cost caps anymore. It's called like average cost per goal. They change it every day. They change it. Average cost per goal, I think, per result goal. That allows you to bid on what your average cost per acquisition should be, but it's an average. So that Facebook does have some flexibility to go a little higher, a little lower, and in times like this, it will probably go a little higher. So if you're really concerned about how much money you're spending and you really want to keep your cost per acquisition at a very finite amount, then I think bid caps is also a really good thing to explore.
Okay, good one. So I guess the advice at this point is don't panic.
Don't panic.
Clearly, there is something going on.
Yeah.
If you are concerned, look at your data or talk to your ad rep or talk to your agency to dig into the numbers, see what you're seeing. There are things that people are trying, which seem to be working to a degree to rectify the performance. And worst case scenario, we know Facebook must be working on this, even if they're not necessarily making a public statement about it. So this can't be something that necessarily goes on forever. Meta is a massive platform with massive amounts of money and massive complexity. So we have seen in the past periods of time where the ad platform is not performing the way we would like. I think is the nicest way to say that.
Earlier this year, there was a big overspend bug where a lot of people were burning through their cost caps and their daily budgets. And Facebook, I think, did refund those people. But things happen. Things happen, and you have to kind of keep an eye on things.
Right. Any last words of advice you'd give to anyone listening, Jen?
I'd just say that there's a pretty strong online community of people who are experiencing exactly this. So if you're worried about your performance and are looking for advice, I think that there's a lot out there. I think that it changes day by day. So having one bad day should not mean that you throw out your whole campaign. Do what you can to optimize, but again, it's a balance. If you over optimize, you don't really know what's going to work, right? So take it day by day, look at the campaign from like a few days span and see what's going, and then go from there.
All right, good advice. Thanks, Jen. Anyone listening to the video today, if you do have questions, pop something in the comments, or if you are a client of Reshift Media, feel free to reach out to us, and we're certainly happy to talk with you about how your campaign is going. And as Jen says, stay vigilant. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day.